My name is Damji Masan, and today I'll be talking about oil spills in the Gulf area. To start, I'd like to identify four main problems. The first problem is the acidifying of the oceans. The second, the Gulf still being engulfed in oil slicks. The third being coral dying in the Gulf. And the fourth being sea life dying in the Gulf. Now, all these problems fall into the same heart, which is global warming and CO2 emissions. So our need for fossil fuels is what causes companies such as BP and Exxon to dig millions of holes in the ocean floor and other lands. This causes rise of CO2 emissions, and they keep digging. It causes higher chances of oil spills, so on. Now, ocean acidification is a direct result of CO2 emissions having a direct impact on seawater and oceans. So basically, what it does is it increases the pH level of the ocean, causing sea life to die out. And here's what a scientist did to demonstrate that. And he basically put a shell in seawater and increased the pH level. As you can see from the first picture, it's a very healthy shell. And slowly, as it increased, it got weaker, and eventually started to break down and fracture and so on. Now, these are pictures of oil spills currently in the Gulf. As you can see, it's hundreds of thousands of miles of oil all over. In this picture, it's a satellite image, and you can see satellite images cover a huge portion. And it's engulfed in black oil, as you can see from here. And there's oil all over here. And this whole lake and part of the water is all oil. And this is a huge freighter going through it. Now, the oil spills have also affected the beaches around Mexico and other parts of the Gulf beaches, such as this one and this one. And as you can see, just leaves black tar on the sand and mixes with the sand. It's really hard to get out of the sand. And it's, as you can see right here, it's a person picking it up, and it's very sticky and slimy. And this person's trying to clean it, and as you can see, it's very ineffective. There was also a large amount of job loss due to the oil spills. Many people, fishermen, cannot feed their families, such as the sign says, simply because they cannot fish because the fish have died out, and their eggs are dying out because of the oil, and so on. Here's another signs. As you can see, it looks like a graveyard, and basically all this is the many species of colonies and so on that have died due to the oil spills. Now, the oil spills also created a thing called oil plumes, and these oil plumes are basically when the drill messes up, or when there's an oil spill, the oil, before it comes up, some of it mixes with the water, and this, as you can see, it attacked a coral reef, and basically it engulfed the coral reef, and the fish have nothing else to eat. They have to eat the plants that grow on the coral reef, so basically they end up eating the oil, and eventually they die out, and they have reproductive problems and so on. And here's some other wildlife. Turtles are a prime example that got affected by the oil spills, basically because their migratory patterns go right through the oil spills, and they have no other choice but to go and swim through it. And birds, same thing. They have migratory patterns. They land in the Gulf, near the Gulf, and they have to feed in the water, so eventually they go in the water, and they can't come out because the oil is so sticky. They can't fly, and the food in the water is dead, and so on. And here's a comic, basically, and this is the CEO of BP who said, "It may be down to how you define what a plume is here." Basically, they don't believe in oil plumes. They don't believe that it mixes in with the water, it attacks sea life, so on. They just believe the oil goes to the top, and that's it. And these are some solutions people have been using to get rid of the oil in the water, and it's called a boom. So basically, it's two boats that have a boom attached to them, which just pulls the oil away from the water. But it's very ineffective because it just escapes through the bottom, as you can see here, and same thing here, as you can see. And since there's hundreds and thousands of miles, this is very ineffective because no matter how many boats you put in the water, it just simply cannot work. It just does not clean the water. And here's another example of a boom covering what's a bird colony, and birds land on this island and during the migratory season, but basically the oil has all seeped in and it's turned the beaches black, it's turned the water around it black, and as you can see, it's just a waste. And here's another solution they're using to clean the beaches. Basically what they do is bag the sand in plastic bags that's mixed with the oil. And again, it's very ineffective because first it's just using tens of thousands of plastic bags. Next, it eventually gets tarnished again because the oil comes back with waves and wind and so on. Now my call to action is the government needs to start working for the people again, and lobbyists need to be shut down and should not get any benefits. And they need to have clear-cut laws for corporations such as BP and Exxon. So for example, if I'm a fisherman and I accidentally spill a bucket of oil or a barrel of oil, I get a huge fine. But BP, if they spill a barrel of oil, they get about 10% of the fine, 5% of the fine, so on. So the laws are different for the people and the laws are different for the corporations. And in conclusion, the oil spills in the Gulf were not an accident but clear negligence, and by BP and other large corporations. We need to reduce our use of fossil fuels so we can give less business to these companies, give them less motive to drill more in the ocean floor, and also we need to start voting for the right candidates, look at what they're running for, how they're going to deal with companies such as BP and Exxon, and yeah. Thank you. That was my presentation.